Hi, Yvonne, are you on the line right now with us?
Yes, I am.
Thanks for being here, Yvonne, and our deepest condolences to you. And
Thank you.
you're very welcome. So you are free to share with us.
Okay. So I probably won't take up the 15-minute time slot, but um my original idea of coming to you guys today was to request your support in creating a ban um for truckers on Highway 97A. Um Highway 97A is the highway that my mother was killed on December 3rd of 2023. In looking at news reports and such for that highway, it appears that it is quite a dangerous road, mainly because of like such winding conditions, and then especially in around the area that my mom was killed was closer to Davidson Drive, which is like a one lane highway. Um, so after a lot of consideration, whether or not this fight should be towards the truckers, I decided that ultimately it doesn't matter like how if the truckers were banned from the highway, because no matter what, people can still cross the middle line. Um, I've been looking a lot into prevention, and ultimately I've came up with 3 different solutions. Um, and I'm coming forward to you guys just to look for feedback at this point. Um, I don't have all of the data that I've requested. I've requested some accident reports from the BC transportation for that highway. And then I've also requested for road maintenance reports from the company that's currently doing the road maintenance on that highway, which is the Kiona Infrastructure Maintenance Inc. Both of which I'm still waiting for those reports. But ultimately, I came up with 3 solutions. So one is the road maintenance being done effectively and in a timely manner. I did notice that there was also a news report already stating the concern for the road maintenance in the area. And it mentions that if the government can't provide the appropriate road maintenance in a timely manner, that potentially maybe the road should be closed until they can be done. I've also came up with potential for like a median, so a cement median or a cable median to be put in place, especially in the areas that are the one lane with the winding roads, just to make it a little bit safer so people can't cross that middle line. As well as I noticed that the speed limit was actually increased back in 2014 on that highway. And I wonder if that's also part of the issue, that the speed limit doesn't need to be 90 kilometers an hour in those winding roads. And I've reached out to people of the community, and they say that their concern is actually people that are going a lot slower than the posted speed limit, which makes me wonder if the highway speed limit is too fast, if people don't feel comfortable doing the appropriate speed limit, and then accidents happening as well for that reason. So those are my 3 solutions, and I don't live in the area. I'm in Calgary. My mom, she lived in Mara. She was in the shoe swap area for many years. So I travel out to see her probably 2 times a year. Usually not when the weather is bad, usually in the summertime or in the spring or fall. So I'm not super familiar on what you guys need or what your guys' opinions are on that highway specifically. So I'm definitely like just looking for feedback on what you guys think would be appropriate for pushing forward.
Okay, thank you, Yvonne. Council, do you have any comments? Councillor McCabe.
Hi. Thank you for your, hello.
Nice and loud.
Not working. Yeah, thank you for your presentation. So, yeah, so 3 things you mentioned, something in the median to avoid crossing over. In that section of the road, it is narrow and there's, the shoulders aren't even to a provincial standard for a numbered highway. So to add a median barrier, you'd add about at least 3 or 4 meters more to the road width. And the width just isn't there because of the rock face and the lake. So you wouldn't get a positive response from the Minister of Transportation to try divide the median to avoid crossovers, I don't think, in my opinion. Road maintenance, you can always send a letter to the Ministry of Transportation to ask if the road was maintained to standards during that time period, or if there's a history of the road and bridge maintenance contractor not maintaining the road to a standard. If they are maintaining it to the standard and there's still accidents, then you might want to request that the standards be reviewed, the standards themselves. So there could be 2 issues. The current standards aren't being enforced by the ministry to their privatized road and bridge maintenance contractor, or the standards aren't high enough to avoid accidents. Speed limit, if you want to try and get the speed limit reduced, it's always helpful to talk to our local staff sergeant, Sergeant Murray McNeil, to see if you can get a support letter from the RCMP to reduce the speed limit in that area. If you're successful in getting a support letter from the RCMP, then you could attach that to a letter to the district highways manager, who's out of Kelowna. Get his name. Lackmuth, Eric Lackmuth, and ask for a review of the speed reduction in Highway 97 in that section of the road. So those are some things you could do. I think we could ask, I'm just one counselor, but we could possibly give you a support letter for at least a review of the speed limit in that area. So if you got a support letter from ourselves to review the speed limit in conjunction with the support letter from the RCMP, that would prompt some action from the district highways manager to at least review the speed limit in that area with the view of possibly reducing it. Because you're right, if there's a speed differential between the posted speed and what the speed people are doing, that in itself does cause accidents. Those are just some of the things I can think of.
Councillor Evans.
Hey, Yvonne, we're so sorry about the loss of your mom. I myself supported Mayor Anderson's idea a couple of years ago that we would have Highway 97A become a scenic route where there wouldn't be big trucks. And I personally would write another letter myself to the government to ask that. And you could also get a letter writing campaign of a lot of people to do that as well. I think that that's also something that I don't know if they're ever gonna do that, but I would sure push for it.
Okay, thanks. Counselor Bailey, sorry.
Yeah, very, very sorry for your loss. And, I always, I think you've raised a very important point on how the roads are maintained. Winter around here, I think that's something a lot of people will feel maybe is not up to standard. I know there's been some sort of reviews where they say it is meeting standards, but you know, there's a disconnect maybe between how people are feeling those roads are being maintained and what the actual data is saying. It's certainly not been it's been an issue here that I think people have felt that the roads are unsafe sometimes and that they haven't gotten cleared down to the appropriate level. And maybe it's time for council to ask for a review of that and, you know, and if maybe as Malcolm mentioned, that the standards aren't high enough for what we need on these really tight roads. This is a very unforgiving road. It reminds me a lot of the road prior to 2010 Olympics up to Whistler. You know, hairpin turns basically, and if you hit some black ice, you're going into the opposite lane. And there was at that time, a lot of deaths on Highway 99. And we are having similar problems on this road. I mean, this is a winter accident, but we had a summer accident that nearly burnt down the town because someone on the same road hit a power transformer and that's what started the fire. And so it seems like this road has a particular problem and it's probably not just it's probably just not in the winter time, but it's the road itself. And I think there's probably several things that we could do here to help maybe draw attention to this road needing a careful look at because you know, how many more times do we need to have a serious accident there that's really tragically affecting our town? So yeah, again, thank you for bringing this forward. And yeah, I think there's something we can do to help make sure the voice gets heard.
Thank you. Sarah, go ahead.
Through the chair, I just wanted to note that council did direct staff to write a letter to the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure regarding maintenance concerns and safety. I believe that motion was put forward by Councillor Rich. We're still working on it, and actually incorporated into that is that, you know, for the ministry to advise whether the standards are being met. So we could incorporate that piece that Councillor McCabe noted. If that was the decision of council, we can do that.
Be very good.
It's a really good idea. Council. Councillor Evans, are you good with that change? Councillor Rich? Councillor Bushville? Absolutely. Councillor McCabe?
Yeah, just one more comment. Thank you through the chair. I don't think the shoulders are to the ministry standard for the numbered route on that section of road. I've been tempted to go out there and actually measure them. So in our letter, I think we should suggest or ask the minister if that road, if the shoulders on that section of road are to a current standard for a numbered route. That's a very specific question. I don't believe they are. And if we can get them to say in writing that they aren't, then that might force them to find some funding to potentially straighten that road out and widen it. Just on the basis that it's not to their own current design standards.
Good point. Councillor Beach, are you in favor of changing the letter?
Oh, absolutely. And I've already brought up that those shoulders are also dropping into the lake. So maybe we can add that in there too. It is a really, really not a good road.
Sarah, can you add those for us?
Certainly, through the chair, and I have some notes from MOTI when council was putting forward the resolution for the scenic route. At that time, we talked about width of the highway. And the staff members said that MOTI doesn't review old highway inventory to ensure they comply with current road standards unless new construction is taking place. And that painters paint to the standard 3.6 meter lane width. However, shoulder width may be narrower and fog lines may not be painted. So that was the information that was provided at that time.
Hmm. Construction of the rail trail account for more traffic coming into. You know, are there some things that are driving traffic this direction or that direction that we can outline, I guess, is. Maybe we can look at. Counselor Rich.
My condolences on the loss of your mom, first and foremost, sorry. And I think everything you're talking about are all points that we can work on. I don't know if a divider, just fairly new to council, but dealing with MOTI, I don't know if that will ever happen. But I think we do absolutely, as a council in a town, and you as a daughter, need to look into road, like how the winter roads are being maintained. And I do think that if they can't maintain them, they should be shut. We shouldn't be losing lives on this kind of thing, and someone losing 6 hours of their day is not worth life. And I also think we should move forward on, that becoming a scenic route and getting the trucks off that road. Because I don't, it's a scary road. It's a scary road in the summer. And I've lived here my whole life. And in the winter when the roads are bad. And the other thing I would suggest, I know you mentioned that you weren't sure which direction to go. I would also continue to look into trucking standards. You can get your class 1 in Calgary in July, or in Tabor, Alberta in July on a straight road. And you can drive across Canada. And I mean, I feel bad for these truckers that are coming into these mountain roads in the winter and have never seen anything like it in their lives. And again, it's an ongoing road battle. But I think the standardizations for the class 1 also have to change, that these guys who are being put, and ladies being put behind the wheel, need to know what they're getting into in a snowstorm on a road like that, or going over the Coquihalla, or coming through Revelstoke. These are the worst highways in Canada. So continue your fight.
Thanks, Siobhan. Counselor Bushel, did you want to?
Yes, through the chair. Yeah, Yvonne, sorry for your loss of your mother. Yeah, we've worked really hard over the years trying to push highways for a corridor access management plan for our community. And I think Malcolm McCabe would say, I think we're one of the only communities on the Trans-Canada Highway that doesn't have one. And they still haven't requested or granted us any kind of indication that they're ever going to do it in the near future. So that's one of the things we've been pushing for, and we've tried for the scenic route, and they basically, that was years ago, they indicated that they couldn't do that. But I think if we keep pushing, and I think we've got a clear message from you that we can come up with some new ideas, and maybe we incorporate the rest of the communities that are along the Okanagan, especially who all the traveling public come through Sicamous and turn south on Highway 97. And maybe we can get some support letters from the mayors of Kelowna and Vernon, and it could help anyway. So anyways, thank you very much for your message, and it's well taken, and we hear you loud and clear.
Counselor McCabe.
Yeah, just one final thought. Thank you. We did a traffic impact study in Sicamous, but it shows all the traffic coming off of 97, heading both south and north. And it was very interesting to see the volume of traffic coming from the Okanagan along that stretch road 97A, is it 97A, I think there, that gets to Sicamous and then turns right. So it was basically coming out of the Okanagan, heading to Alberta. And I think if you break that down into percentage wise, you'd see that 30 or maybe 35, possibly even 40% of that traffic is commercial industrial traffic. So we have a copy of that traffic impact study that we'd be more than happy to share with you. I'm sure we could ask staff to send you a copy of that.
That'd be great.
That would be some good information to show the actual volumes. So we took that in a peak period in August, so that could help you in your fight to possibly reduce speeds or even have it widened. Just showing the volumes, because that traffic data is more current than anything for transportation would even have.
Thanks, Malcolm. Bianca?
Hi, Yvonne. I actually drive this stretch every day, 5 days a week. Just so you know, the speed limit is 80 now. It was brought back down. But yeah, I probably have a lot of suggestions driving it every day. One, like right now in winter time, I think even just having marked areas to pull off, I think would be really nice, just for people that don't want to get pushed by other traffic, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's a posted speed limit, but with these conditions, I was not doing 80 coming to work today. Or like 60. So just some suggestions there, and just to note, yeah, it is back down to 80. But I know the one corner by Fast Gas towards Enderby, they when there was a death there on the corner, they ended up putting in more flashers on dangerous corners. So maybe a cheaper option if MOTI doesn't want to put too much money in it, but flashers potentially, because yeah.
Okay. Okay, thanks, everyone. Thank you, Yvonne. We will craft a letter, send you some information.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
You're very welcome. Okay. Moving on, District of Sycamore Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1048, 2024, RVP-1, RVP-2, first and second reading. There's a recommendation here that the District of Sycamore Zoning Bylaw number 1048 be given first and second reading this 10th day of January 2024. Can I get a mover? Councillor Evans, Councillor Bushel. Nicole, take it away.
Okay, through the chair. So today we are proposing RVP-1 and RVP-2. So the locations are 1383 Silver Sands Road on the left, and then 1455 Silver Sands Road on the right. Both OCP designations are residential waterfront, and both zoning currently is RVP-1. Okay, so for Silver Sands, proposed to go from the current RVP-1 to I guess a revised RVP-1 that better reflects Silver Sands' existing development. And this is super tiny, but I'll just talk about a couple of the changes. We've talked about it quite a bit at Committee of the Whole and previous council meetings. So for Silver Sands, allowing bunkies, personal storage, the maximum heights better reflect what's happening in the existing development. And probably most important, and what we've talked about the most, is the setbacks. And what's proposed tonight is a 1 meter interior side setback. And then the next slide. So for RVP, Sycamore Sands, we're going from the existing RVP-1 to RVP-2 that better reflects Sycamore Sands' existing development. And so for this one, allowing short-term rentals, personal storage. It has the same 1 meter interior side setback as, oh, that one says Silver Sands.
The Silver Sands.
Yeah,
Sycamore Sands.
yeah, this should be.
It says Sycamore Sands.
Yeah, okay, yeah, just my heading is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then fences and privacy screens permitted at 2.5 meters in height. And deck boxes or Rubbermaid storage units not being considered as accessory buildings. For both zones, we've included acknowledgement that existing development is, I guess, grandparented, even though the Local Government Act already speaks to that. We've included it in here for clarity. And so anything that's existing would be grandparented that doesn't fall under this revised bylaw, and then any new development would have to follow this new bylaw.
Nicole, okay, council. Comments? Go ahead, Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, we worked on this one for quite a while in planning and worked with Terry and Nicole has spent some time with Barry. We haven't spent a lot of time with Barry, but the planning department, but spent a lot of time with Terry and Milo, and we've been through this quite a bit. So I think everybody seems to be fairly happy. I mean, I think both proponents are online. And I think Nicole's, accommodated, and Brett, the fire chief, has also done his due diligence and expressed his concern. So I think we got it pretty close to being right. So yeah, I'm supportive of moving this forward.
Hey, Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I think this is a good example of working together to come up with a solution, and I think it's really balanced. It's taken in concerns around fire safety, and taken in concerns of how we, over time get this to a separate, like a place where it should be, but without affecting the people who currently live there now and the grandfathering provisions. So, these things, the evolution of planning and standards are always a tough thing, but I think we found a really good pragmatic way to move this forward and make sure that the folks that are staying there now are not adversely affected. So I definitely support this, and thanks to the planning department and Kelly and everybody that's kind of worked as a team on this over the past several months. So, and Gord, of course. So, yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Nicole, are you going to speak to 1048? Or sorry. So recommendation, okay, so I guess I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, revenue anticipation revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw number 1055, 2024, first, second, and third reading. Bianca.
Yeah, so this is just an annual bylaw that we put through at the beginning of the year. All of our tax monies are collected at the beginning of July, of course, halfway through the year. So this is just giving us the opportunity, if we need to use our line of credit, and which is based off of prime, which is currently 7.2%. I don't see us needing to use it, but it's an annual one that we put in place every year just to have it there just in case.
Okay, thank you. The recommendation is that the District of Sycamore revenue and anticipation borrowing bylaw number 1055 be given first, second, and third reading this 10th day of January 2024. Do I have a mover? Councillor Rich, Councillor Beach. Is there any council discussion on this? Okay, Kelly, go ahead.
I'm not a counselor, but I just wanted to point out that in the 10 years I've been here, we've only accessed this line of credit once. And it was 2 years ago, and it was when we were working on a larger capital project, but we rarely have to actually tap into this.
Perfect.
Just for information.
That's excellent. Good to know. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Hey, staff reports, award of lift station kiosk upgrade Moore Street. Recommendation that the District of Sycamoose Council authorize the purchase of a lift station kiosk for Moore Street from Mountain View Electric, the amount not exceeding 119,995 plus GST. Could I get a mover? Councillor Bushel, Councillor Beach. Daryl, take it away.
Okay, thank you through the chair. We did an assessment on our lift stations a number of years ago, and we've identified 4 lift stations that need to be upgraded. Moore Street Lift Station represents one of the 4 that have been scheduled for replacement. It's been within the 5-year capital plan for the last couple of years. The existing kiosk is currently powered from the power at the Young Street Lift Station all the way down Riverside under the sidewalk. So we've got a cable under there it's given us grief. We've had to go in and do repairs under the sidewalk. With the Riverside project and this Moore Street Lift Station project, both happening in 2024 or planned to be happening in 2024, it would make the most sense to get the Moore Street Lift Station power dedicated to it in advance of the Riverside project. It'll just simplify all the services as we go under the sidewalk all the way down on the west side. seeking a council resolution to proceed with the purchase of the kiosk. If we can get that resolution tonight, it'll enable staff to submit a 25% deposit and get that kiosk ordered. It's about 16 weeks away.
Council, any questions? Councillor McCabe.
Through the chair, thank you. Impact to taxes?
This one is through the reserve in place for it, so it's part of the capital plan for sewer. Or, yes,
No.
The answer is zero.
yes,
Thank you.
from reserve.
Perfect. Anyone else? Zero taxes. Let's call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Daryl. Okay, notices of motion, decriminalization, Supreme Court decision on Bill 34. I just wanted to bring this forward to council to just see if there's a resolution that we want to pop out of this or a letter to write. Bill 34 is putting guardrails around parks and water parks and splash parks and for use of illicit drugs. So what we basically did as council, they're putting it back on the table so that those are safe spaces for our kids. The bill has been stalled by the courts because the Harm Reduction Nurses Association, which is, I think, a couple hundred members, has said that the stigma around illicit drug use should not be right. They should still be allowed to use illicit drugs in all spaces. So I'm bringing it back to council because I don't want to wait until we're fighting over this again. I would like us to put a motion or put a letter together to minister and support Bill 34 as opposed to waiting for more fallout. So that's why I brought this to council to get your feedback and see if there's something that we want to do. Councillor McCabe.
I think it's a great idea. We could attach our resolution, say as a community, we support Bill 34 and think as a province we do too.
Okay, Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I would support that. I was really surprised by the court decision setting that aside. I mean, it's what we talked about here when we had the health professionals here. We were asking some, I think, pretty pointed questions about how would this work and why are we taking parks and saying that this should be used for people with addictions. I mean, a park is also there for the public's use. And while I can understand the rationale behind it, you can't just turn over all public spaces that the taxpayers pay for a singular use, and that includes drug use. That shouldn't trump what is actually the intended use of the space. And I think that's what Bill 34 is trying to balance, is that we do have spaces and they're the enjoyment for everybody. And the danger is that we take these spaces and we turn them into places where other people don't want to go. And then we have a problem trying to justify why we spend tax dollars on these places, which is important. People need to use this. People need to actually get some benefits out of it because they're paying for it. There's a balance here for sure. No one is saying that people with addiction issues don't deserve and need support and space, but we need to balance public space and needs as well. And that's why I think the province had it right. And I think we had it right. We were talking about this before and we were told, though, no, you can't possibly do that. And I think we were trendsetters there and we were saying, no, we have to, because other people have rights too. And I think that's what we need to constantly balance here, is that balance. And yeah, I support what Councillor McCabe says. I think we should send a letter or, yeah, I mean, often we send letters to the province complaining about something. This could be one of the rare circumstances where we say, yeah, we think you got it right. And,
Good.
you know, we totally agree. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, you're right. We were trendsetters and there was a lot of communities that wanted to follow us and called us and, you know, got information from us as how we move forward because, and I agree with you. I mean, there's, you know, this isn't, they do need space, people with addictions and there's a bigger problem here that the government needs to look at. This is not a solution to fix a big problem. So it's just adding a problem to others. So, go ahead.
As a chair, yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, it's easy to say they have constitutional rights, but so does everyone else. And honestly, children need to be protected because they can't speak for their constitutional rights. So I don't think that we have been misdirected in our original move to protect parks. But I do think that it would be, we need to point out that they're trying to look for the cheapest solution and they're avoiding the obvious one, which is to fund safe injection sites in a safe place, in a discrete place in areas. And that would be a solution. And it wouldn't put our families and our children and other people at risk. So I would be in favor of making that point as well. When we do
Thank you.
respond.
Do we need to do, a motion or you need to make a motion?
Through the chair, so a letter, now is the letter from council being directed to the province or the BC Supreme Court Justice? Province expressing council's support for Bill 34 to become law?
Yeah, because my understanding that it's really gonna be a provincial decision whether to appeal it. So I think we send a note saying we support Bill 34, please appeal it and get this thing in place.
Would we like to include other,
Attach our resolution.
attach our resolution? Yes, I agree, but would we like CC, MLA, MP? And maybe ask for support from, you know, CSRD, you know, other municipalities. Because they fought alongside, well, they didn't fight alongside us, but they came up behind us. But we're just taking this now, and we're moving it forward before we have a big fight on our hands. So if we can rally those folks too and have them submit letters of support for Bill C-34, then that might have a bigger impact than just sickness. So
It could be, through the chair, it could be sent to other municipalities, local governments. And they would potentially include it on their agenda and then decide to write a letter of support.
okay, let's do that. So do we?
Making it and then.
Sure, I'll make that motion. Malcolm's gonna second it. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you, guys. Okay, committee reports, correspondence for information, Interior Health, Central Okanagan Maternity Clinic, Parliamentary Secretary Kelly Green, invasive species and housing funding notification. Anyone want to speak to those?
The housing one, please,
Sure, go ahead.
Madam Mayor. Yeah, so we're getting $163,000. How are we gonna spend that?
Yeah, so
It'd be hard.
Easy, quick question.
we're still waiting on the guide to come out, so it'll outline, all the different things, because I want to also look back to see, okay, we spent money on DCCs, like, can we absorb, like, how, can we go backwards and use some of that money? And then, when we can look at, all of our options, that's not available yet. So it's a to be continued. As soon as we get that information, we can incorporate that hopefully into maybe a finance committee meeting Because if we get that information, yeah.
Same question.
Thank you.
Yeah, and really the intent of it is because the legislation has changed for the province, which affects local governments. Now we have to change bylaws as a result of that, so they're helping us fund those bylaws. We actually probably don't have that many bylaws that we have to change just because of our size, but we still have a lot of this stuff that we need to update and everything, so we'll find a way to spend it, but we don't know exactly what we're allowed, what's eligible and not yet.
Thank you. I do have a question on the Kelly Green Invasive Mussel Defense Program letter. We did sit as council and go see her, and she's not sharing anything that we don't already know. So, and isn't a lot of help, but she does mention in here, our second resolution, that we express concerns regarding the riparian area violations and specific issues. And it says that there are provisions for local governments to develop their own wrapper standards. So do we know any more about that? Like, can we develop our own wrapper standards so we don't have to go to?
My understanding of that is that they have to meet or exceed the existing standards.
Correct.
Yeah.
That takes that a step though, correct? Speeds up the process?
But I would, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Councilman. McKay.
Like Langford, they have their own approval process as a local municipality for this. Is this what, because I highlighted that section too, where it says there are previous provisions for local government to develop their own RAF standards. And if this is of interest to explore further, please reach out to so-and-so. Well, so if we do develop our own standards, does that mean we become our own approval on that also, is my question.
Yeah, and you know what?
There's a precedent that Langford does that, so why can't we?
Right. So we still have to follow and meet and exceed the existing ones, and we'd have to have some kind of biologist or something in-house.
It just quickens the approval process.
You know what? Well, how about we reach out to Maya and find,
How about we find out? Perfect.
we actually can
Thank you.
answer that question.
Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, we talked about this at planning a while back when Scott was running the planning department, and he was looking into the wrapper thing, and also it all boils down to what we got written in our OCP as well. So, and we talked about renewing the OCP, so that whole, QEP, setting the standard with QEPs and all that. So he was looking into that, so we haven't tasked Nicole with that project yet. It was being looked at.
It's just what our mayor was talking about earlier to the community whole, like bringing things back into our control, and that's, we're not changing the standards. We might even exceed them, but we can improve the timelines and turnaround possibly and promote economic development a little faster.
Overachievers. Also, in that letter, it's, I'm sorry, you made a note here, opportunity to provide input for a wildfire act review. Wildfire, but I got fire on the brain. Wildlife act review. Can we get more information on that as well?
So in the correspondence, I don't know, do you have it open, Kelly?
I can't open this.
What do you want me to open?
The correspondence from Kelly Green from Parliamentary
Have it on.
Secretary.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she just notes that they're conducting a review of the Wildlife Act. And within that is potentially the inclusion of pull the plug legislation for protection around aquatic invasive species. So she's saying that there's an opportunity for us to provide, for council to provide input.
Okay.
But by sending,
Shouldn't we know, could we get a bigger outline of what that is? Like, what does that look like? And where? Like, I don't know what that looks like. So do we just say we want to include clean, drain and dry? In that, like, how do we?
through the chair, I think council could express what they would like to see, but if you would like a little bit more information about where they're at with the review, we can do.
That would be great. And then we can add that too. Fill all those little holes with clean, drain and dry. Okay, and is there anything else? Okay, do we have any comments from the gallery? No. Are there any comments online? Okay, that's it, that's all. Recommendation of the District of Sycamus regular council meeting for January 10th, 2024. Be adjourned, the time being 5:45. Malcolm? Counselor Bailey, all in favor? Thanks, everyone carried. We're done. Thanks for coming.